Oh my God, what happened to the table? It's gone. I see it.
It's outside, remember? We used it for cigars, and now it's wrecked.
It's wrecked?
It rained, yeah. It's just cardboard.
Yeah, buddy. Holy.
I hear you rummaging.
That feels too low here.
Too low? Do you want it
Does
higher?
it not? Does that not feel low?
I just didn't want it like in my face or your face, but you
be
can adjust it.
It should be like, oh, not that high. No, relax. Like there. Feels right to me.
Does it?
No, it doesn't. No, you did not tighten that.
Alright, where? Right there?
Like right here. Yeah, it seems
This
right.
part where you tighten it is rusted. Okay, listen.
This feels righter to me.
It's updated, but there's still a lot of hand-me-downs going on around you.
This is wildly updated. I'm unprepared. I feel like there's no way that's enough light, but I could be wrong. How does it look on the thing?
It looks fine. It's definitely dimmer, obviously.
You're gonna have to
I was having lighting issues
Oh,
with the ceiling light.
why? What was wrong with the ceiling?
I don't know. It was giving me some weird, like glare that I've never had before. It was weird. Same light. I don't know. So I'll try to figure something out. I think we just need a better lighting setup. I think that's first.
Lighting is important. Lighting's important.
I got you a gift. I know
What's
you're
that?
more of a coffee gal these days, but this is like official Red Bull from Asia. That'll probably wreck your shit.
This is gonna be so bad for me. I'm very excited though. How did you get this?
We went to a store today that it's on Command. It's called Pete's Pop, and they sell just like most of the stuff's from Asia, but they have a bunch of like weird flavored chips.
I'm
and
very
drinks and
excited for this.
So yeah, my brother for Christmas got me a bag of like random food. Remember the
the gummy
like
stuff?
Well, there was other stuff in this huge bag. It was like, oh, we'll turn the favor. So,
dude, this, what a great segue into the fact that I have been trying to limit as much as possible my caffeine consumption. I'm 100% going to be drinking this anyway, but, people have been telling me forever to lower my caffeine consumption, because it's probably, agitating my anxiety. And I'm like, you're right.
Well, yeah.
I hear you.
Okay, what's your caffeine intake right now?
Right.
What was it when you were like?
Definitely just like, put down there. I would probably have like maybe two 12-ounce Red Bulls, or like a 12-ounce Red Bull and an 8-ounce Red Bull in a day.
So how much caffeine is that?
A lot. I don't know.
Is that like
but it's a
400
lot.
milligrams, maybe?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just know it's a lot. But, I've been having such like daily anxieties that I've been like, just like tired of kind of like living that, like in that. So I was like, I gotta try just like going back a bit. Because I was like, I would drink it and then I'd be like, I'm anxious now. I mean, like, I feel like energized, which is dope, which is why I drink that, right? It makes me feel more focused and energized, and I also like the way it tastes, but I also get wildly anxious.
I feel like, yeah, it definitely makes it worse.
It does, and it's a bummer because I do actually enjoy the taste of Red Bull. So
I was never a fan of the taste. To be
it's
honest.
an acquired taste for sure.
I mean, I've tried it a bunch of times. Like I've had plenty of Red Bulls throughout my life. But it was like I just dealt with the taste. I never thought it was like good.
I became somebody that was so in love with it, and I used to be a regular sugar Red Bull drinker for the longest time, and then I got COVID. Wasn't drinking any Red Bull, obviously, and then when I went back to drinking Red Bull after COVID, the regular sugar COVID Red Bull was making me very sick, nauseous, which is weird.
That's how I felt off Monster.
Regular, the green monsters?
No, I was drinking the Monster juices.
Oh, that's disgusting.
They were so tasty. It was like drinking candy.
Oh.
It was so good. But I was drinking them at least one a day. And I never drank energy drinks like that, and I got hooked immediately. And then it got to the point where I would drink it, and I felt sick after I drank it.
Yeah.
And then I stopped drinking it for a while, and then after, I wouldn't necessarily feel sick, but I would get crazy heartburn. And spicy food, crazy things I eat, drink, nothing ever gives me heartburn.
That's weird, yeah.
It gave me heartburn.
Heartburn's scary, too. I think. Really bad heartburn. It's very strange because I don't really get heartburn, but there was a very brief moment in time when I was younger that I was getting heartburn from a shit ton of things. And it's such a scary feeling. I mean, at least I guess when I was a kid, because I didn't know what the hell it was.
Right.
You're just like, ow, this hurts.
You're I'm on fire.
You're my chest hurts and it feels like it's on fire. Very scary, disorienting feeling. But yeah, energy drinks are bad. Monster juice, whatever that is, that's bad. All that stuff is really bad.
All these things are bad. I do
really
not
bad.
Anybody. If you're under 18, you should not be drinking them.
They're really bad, and I think it's funny because we always talk about how how bad sodas are and how bad sugar is and candy and cookies and all these things, and I feel like there is not enough attacks on the energy drink market. I don't think so, because look at something like Celsius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's all about Celsius right now. Well, Celsius is still technically an energy drink of some kind.
Oh,
It's
it is?
Yeah, so it's we're all sitting here oh, it's 0 calories. It doesn't have sugar, whatever it is, but it's still not good for you.
I just read something today. They pulled themselves out of bankruptcy by selling a bunch of crypto.
Celsius?
Yes.
Well, that makes me like them more.
Insane.
That makes me like them, but I just think they're so not. What makes me think of this is how you always hear a lot of media and press about the tobacco industry, right? Because there's this epidemic with vaping and snus and zins and all of these things that a lot of the younger generation is doing and they're worried about, right? Especially things like vaping, because there hasn't been enough time to really study the long-term effects of them, right? And valid. All this stuff is valid. However, I feel we don't give the the energy drink market enough shit for how bad that they do to kids, to adolescents.
Well,
it's bad.
So, and I'm gonna point this one out. And South Park made an episode about it. They called it cred in the episode, but they were basically talking about Prime.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a hydration drink.
Yes,
the problem is the bottle of what would be Gatorade-esque, right, looks exactly like the can, which is an energy drink. Same flavor, same color.
I would think it is the same thing if I saw it, because I wouldn't know.
Right. And people may not know. People get them for their kids. I don't know if I told you. So I'm walking into Target once, and Target has the little drink area in the front now. When you walk in, you can just grab drinks.
And they've just given up on doing stuff. They have just boxes of beverages. Very Costco-esque of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I'm walking, there's some younger girl, probably in her 20s, and her younger brother, who's a teenager at best. And she goes, "What do you want?" That's what made my ears perk up, because it was she was just loud. And he's like, this. And he reaches over and he grabs a can of Prime. And his sister, fucking, good job of her. She grabs it and actually looks at it instead of just buying it for him. And she's reading. She's like, "Who the hell gave you this?" It's you can't drink this. What are you, nuts? This kid, he's like, "Oh, it's delicious." This kid is already hooked on caffeine. That's nuts.
And it's a problem. And people always want to blame soda companies, right? Because there's caffeine in that stuff and sugar and all these bad things. But you know what's really bad? The energy drink market. that is a market that for some reason just kind of skates responsibility for the amount of damage that they do to people. I think it's bad.
I think it gets chalked up to one of those things just like cigarettes or anything else.
No, it's not.
No, but I'm saying like it's up to the user.
Well, no, because what I think is messed up is that the energy drink market still gets away with saying things like, it's for working out, it's going to get you pumped, it's going to get you focused. Whereas, right, like tobacco and stuff, like they say nicotine helps you focus, but they can't do that stuff anymore. They can't get out there and market it like, hey, this is going to get you pumped, this is going to get you focused. They can't do that anymore. They've stopped them from doing that. To the point where on like lots of tobacco products now, it'll say things like it'll legitimately kill you or give you cancer. Like it'll say it on there. But energy drink companies, they can get out there and be like, yeah, this is gonna make you focus, it's gonna make you faster, it's gonna make you better, it's gonna make you get a girlfriend. Like they can say whatever they want.
Those are all lies. You drink energy drinks and you don't have a girlfriend.
It's gonna give you an enormous dick. Better. Drink this, like Mountain Dew energy. It's for dudes. Like they can do that stuff, and no one's stopping them. No one's saying anything.
Mountain Dew make an energy drink?
I think they do. Well, I know they make an alcohol.
Yeah, they do. They make that hard Baja Blast.
Everyone needs to calm down with that
I'm
shit.
all down for that. I was not joking about the Arizona one.
You're a sick person. I'm super happy.
The new flavors. It's okay.
It's all malt liquor, is it not?
I think half the time it's either tequila or vodka.
Well, because I know like Mike's Hard Lemonade is it's malt liquor.
Oh yeah,
it's malt liquor.
Yeah.
So because I know I was a kid, I was like, oh, that sounds dope. And the first time I had like a twisted tea, I was like, oh, what is this nightmare?
You're not a fan of malt
There's
liquor?
no tea in this. Like, but yeah, I think the energy drink market is somehow just continues to skate by any kind of responsibility for the damage that I think they do to a lot of people. I think it's bad for you in every way. I don't know if it's as bad for you as like tobacco, but I definitely think that there are some definite similarities between the negative things that those things do to you and something like that.
So we got tobacco, energy drinks, and then the lemonade that Panera Bread serves, because that shit killed people.
Yeah, apparently that's also in there with and stuff that'll kill you. I guess anything can really kill you these days. You really can't be sure of anything. When you go out with your family for a Sunday brunch, just be aware that the eggs on your table might also have
I gotta ask them how much caffeine's in my eggs.
Yeah, you gotta go. Gotta really be certain about where all your stuff's coming from. Apparently, everything's got to be organic from a farm that has a name and a backstory. If you don't have those creds...
I need to know the name of the chicken.
I need to know the name of the chicken. If you don't have the creds, just get out of my face. But, kind of funny what you're talking about with the prime drinks and, the bottles versus the cans.
Mm-hmm.
I've been recently drinking a lot of Liquid Death.
Yeah.
Right? And very frequently, when I'm getting Liquid Death, wherever I am, I am very often talked to like it's an alcoholic beverage. Because I guess of the art on it.
They know what it looks like. If you get the regular one, it looks like a can of Modelo. Like it looks like beer.
So I think there's the Liquid Death, like the iced teas that kind of look like Modelo's, and then you have ones that are like the black can, which is like sparkling, and then I get the one that's the white can, which is just straight mountain water. And I've nearly every single time I've tried to buy this places, people think it's alcohol, whether it's the actual guy at the register or just random people that are watching me out throughout the world. Like when I went to a particular convenience store on the way here.
What happened? Why were you so upset?
Well, I got like, okay. Well, first of all, I went to go get Liquid Death, and I got 2 cans, and I'm waiting in line, and there's this chick in front of me that just knew was going to be trouble because she had an ankle bracelet, and she's like in her mid-40s. I was like, what in the Lizzie McGuire am I experiencing right now? Please put that away. Put your ankle away and put your ankle bracelet away.
Was this the one right here on Military and Melaleuca?
No, it was a little bit farther down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were closer to you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. but I've been in this particular one a few times, but I've never experienced quite this anarchy. So she's in front of me with some older white guy, and they're buying out all of the what is that vape jewels. They're buying all of the jewel like one particular flavor or whatever. She's like, how many do you have? And the guy's like, I got like 10. She's like, I'm gonna buy them all. And he's like, really? And she's like, yeah, every time I come here, somebody else bought them all, so I'm gonna buy them all. Great human being. So I'm like, sick, whatever. I'm waiting in line, I'm holding my liquid death and my Canada Dry, and this guy behind me, who I saw a little bit earlier, like, we passed each other, and he said, excuse me, sir, and I just let that slide, because that happens so very frequently, like, whatever. I can't stop every Tom, Dick, and Jane from calling me sir. That just happens on a regular basis. Whatever. I'm gonna be like, actually, I'm a lady. Like, whatever. So I'm like, no worries, man. Thinking in my brain that most of the time I feel like when I say that, they think to themselves, like, oops, that's a woman, right? So he's behind me in line. And as we're both waiting for this nightmare situation to end in front of us with this lady buying all of the nicotine that's available to her, and there's like a line occurring now, he goes, excuse me, fella. And I think I'm just standing there because I'm like, there's no way that's me. So I slowly turn around, and then he comes right over here with 2 enormous Bud Lights and goes, what kind of beer is that? I've never seen it. And I went, this is water. And he was like, is it? And I was like, it is. It's water. At this point, everybody's looking at me. And I'm thinking, mind your fucking business, lady buying all of the one flavor of Juul fucking liquid. Like, you guys are looking at me right now? Do your thing, all right? First of all, hurry it up. Second of all, I'm not going to take flack from some lady with, 90% spray tan on her and an ankle bracelet. Get out of here. There's no way this is happening, right? So I was like, yeah, it's water. And he was like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm sitting here now, and I'm just like, fella? Hey, fella?
You thought your water was beer. You
thought my water was beer.
See. You clearly can't see.
We already crossed paths, in which I said, no problem, or whatever the hell I said. Like, he heard my voice, and still was like, that's 100% a dude. I was like, this...
Was he older?
I mean, yeah, but, like, not like, old. Middle age.
I wonder if there's, like, some people from just, like, a time where they just can't fathom.
No, he wasn't that.
Okay, well, no.
Well, he had 2 enormous cans of Bud Light and then 3 packages of Ding Dongs.
He was in for a night.
Yeah, also a cherry fruit pie. So I don't know what was going on in that situation, but it was awful in all of the ways that it could be. I was like, man, I just want to purchase this water, and I just want to get this Canada Dry, and I have to deal with middle-aged Lizzie McGuire and Bud Light hostess guy. Hey there, fella. I was like, what? Why? I feel like this shit does not happen to other people.
It happens a lot to you. It definitely doesn't just exclusively happen to you, but the frequency of which this happens to you.
And you know what? I will say, at least I am fortunate in that I have not been mistaken outside of my workplace for a while. So
okay.
I feel really good about that. It's been at least a couple months where I haven't been out and about and somebody's been like, Sam, from that particular gun store? And I'm like, oh.
No.
The last time it happened was when I was trying to buy tampons, so.
Yeah, that was nuts.
I don't know if I ever talked about that on here, but like.
Not on here. That was after the last time.
It was a crazy situation. I mean, I was in the local Walmart, and as I'm holding a box of tampons, trying to figure out what I'm gonna get, because there's just so much variety. You'd be surprised if you've never bought tampons how much variety that there can be for something you to bleed on.
I need the exact make and model before I go to the store to buy some for my lady. Like, it's not...
It's different every time. There's not one that I'm loyal to. I have no loyalty to menstruation equipment.
That's nuts.
Also, me calling it equipment is really gay.
I like
but
that,
anyway.
though. I like that, though. I like menstruation equipment. That's good. That's
the equipment that you would buy to bleed on. I've always, by the way, this is a great moment to talk about this. I've always thought that tampons and pads should be free and they should be provided by the government. Would you like to know why I feel this way?
Yes.
I have a great argument.
I want to hear it.
Okay.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Most every woman has a period, right? We all know that. And when a woman has a period, when she is menstruating, I want to say that because it really upsets people sometimes. By the way, if that does upset you, I really just need to know why.
Menstruation.
It does, though. It does. Like, it's like there are grown adult men that are like, oh no, periods. Like, but anyway.
Yeah, people are weird.
Let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Let's say you were on some sort of public transport, a bus, a plane. Fuck it. Let's say you're in a movie theater, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you go to sit down, and there's just a pile of blood. Period blood.
Okay.
You're not having a good time, are you? You're not going to sit there, right?
Oh, no.
Well, you saw it, right? Like, you're like, what an inconvenience, right?
Yeah.
But, like, I have to go buy a product to prevent that from occurring. Okay. What if we all just got together and were like, I'm just not going to buy any, right? The uproar, the chaos that would ensue because we would just be bleeding all over the place, right? And it's like, well, if I don't want to do that, then I have to buy a product for something that I can't even control. I don't even want to do it. I'm not even interested. This isn't something I signed up for.
This is surplus to requirements for me.
Legitimately,
I don't need this.
Not even something that I am interested. Not even something that I'm interested in doing or participating in. I have no choice, right? It's biological. So why the fuck am I being asked, basically forced, to buy a product? Because if I don't buy it, then what? I'll bleed over everything. Public transport, going wherever, just download, whatever. Wherever I go. Mm-hmm. That's a problem, right? Why is it not free?
It's interesting that it's not free when, in a lot of cases, birth control is free. So they're like, they can just stop you from bleeding. If you want to do that, then yeah, we'll pay for it.
Well, that doesn't stop you from bleeding. It just controls
some of them do.
Some birth control does, yeah.
Some do.
But those aren't always necessarily
okay, so
free.
Basically, we'll fit the bill if we get to alter what your body's doing. But if you just want to go through your natural process,
right? Go fuck yourself. And my thing again is like if a bunch of women, if there was a substantial amount of women throughout the country that just decided one day, we're not going to do this anymore because we don't want to spend $30 on these fucking pads or tampons, and we just started bleeding all over things, people would lose their minds. They would lose their mind. Like the same politicians that cannot fathom that certain people don't want children or want to get abortions, they would freak out. They'd be like, oh my God, Marianne is bleeding in the public library. Like, how can she do this? Well, bitch, why don't you pay for these products for me then? 'Cause I don't want to pay for them. I don't want to fucking pay for them. And people will be like, oh, well, like, you have to pay for them, right? Like, because what do you want? The people to foot the bill? And it's like, bitch, I don't care if I bleed over everything. Whose problem is this going to be?
Would you settle for no tax on the product?
No, I want it to be free. Okay. This is not an activity I want to do.
No, I get that. You know? So here's my only... It's not even an argument. It's just like the shitty side of it. So the government would have to literally give you money because if they provided it...
Yeah, they should.
If they provided it, like they sent you a box every day to your house...
That'd be so awesome.
It would be the shittiest products imaginable. It would be the worst quality.
I don't care, though. I don't think I would care. I think if it were available... And this is my other thing, too. Like, I wouldn't even mind you having to go somewhere and obtain it, you know? And this is going to go into something that I think a lot of people are not going to be happy with, which is, you know, Planned Parenthood. But, like, you can get condoms at Planned Parenthood. You can get birth control at Planned Parenthood. they're important, right? Like, you can get these things. Like, I think that pads and tampons should be available in these locations as well. Like, you should be able to get them. It should be accessible to you. Those things are free there. I don't think so. No. When have you ever heard go to the Planned Parenthood to get tampons or pads?
I've never heard. Hey, Mark, go to Planned Parenthood.
But you can go to Planned Parenthood and get condoms. You know that, right? You can get free condoms at a Planned Parenthood.
I'm aware that they have a bucket in the lobby somewhere.
Like, are they the best condoms? No.
But
they'll do it, is what I'm saying.
But that's my point. I feel it's...
I don't care. I just want it to... I think it should be available. And the other thing, too, of why I think it should be available, regardless of quality, is I'm fortunate enough that I work and I have money and I can, get these things. But, like, there are 100%, I'm sure, people who can't really afford to get that stuff. And they're using paper towels or whatever is available. Right. And that's fucked.
That's what I was saying. Like, I would imagine that you could get it there because...
Maybe. It's possible. We're going to have to do some more
research.
Imagine
you get your first period and you're a girl in that situation where, like, your family can't afford any of that stuff. And, like, maybe you can't talk to your family. Maybe you don't have a family.
Yeah.
And, like, where do you go?
Well, I think a lot of times in those situations, they're in school of some kind, and usually, like, school nurses have those things. They do.
Maybe.
Well, as a female who has gone through the school system, they usually do have those things accessible.
I had a job, and in one of the stores I worked, we actually set up a box in the bathroom because
that's so nice.
A, we had a lot of female employees, and B, my first time working that particular store solo, I'm on the sales floor, and it was a small store, so I could, from the register I was at, that was towards the back of the store, I can hear a voice coming from the stock room. And it was just, Mark, I have to go home. And I was like, there's no fucking shot. Like, I could just tell in her tone what was going on. And this was like the first time I was running a store by myself, like the very first day. And she was the only employee on the store.
How does she not have something with her? That's crazy.
So if she goes...
I have stuff everywhere.
She's like, I gotta go home. And I was like, okay, do you, like, have to go home and get something? Or do you, like, you gotta go home and, like, change and shower like it's bad? Like, I need to know whether I need to call somebody else in. She's like, no, I gotta go home. And, like...
Dang.
I'm like, okay. So, like, I sent her home. I think I got somebody from, like, another store in the mall to fucking hang out for a little bit. But I was just like, after that, the other manager was like, yeah, we'll deal with this. Well, so we just had, like, I think he bought, like, a, mystery
I don't know
box.
if that would have helped them, that particular person anyway, in that situation.
I don't know, but we were just like...
Because they said they had to go home.
It sounded like it was bad, but as a precaution, if we... Yeah.
Which is dope.
We could help. So we had a little box with stuff in it.
It would be nice if those things were more available and, like, like they used to have the ability to, like, you remember those things? Well, they probably don't have them in men's restrooms, but in women's restrooms, they used to have a machine where you could put a quarter in and you could get a tampon. What the fuck happened to those?
The men's room has condoms, aspirin, and sometimes baby wipes.
They're like, you're gonna need these condoms. And she's giving you a fucking headache, so here's some aspirin. Like, do they still have those in your restaurant?
I've never seen one. Listen,
what happened to those?
We barely have changing tables, okay?
Which is true. But that's always been an upward battle. This is something that used to exist in restrooms and then disappeared.
Well, men's rooms, for the most part, don't have them.
What?
Changing tables.
Well, right, but that's always been an issue.
Yeah.
But I'm saying these machines that had the condoms, the aspirin, in women's room, hand sanitizer, they used to exist and they disappeared. What the fuck happened to those?
Dyson doesn't make one. So.
They're like, we don't want this shitty, ugly aluminum thing on the wall. I always looked at those things like, I wonder if it even works, kind of a thing, because it was around when I was a kid. But man, those should really come back. Business opportunity. You and I. We'll have it really nice. It'll be a touch screen.
I think it was...
What are we doing right now? We should have that done.
I think it had to do with people were like, thought they were encouraging the behavior. They just like had it in a school.
Really... that is so
No,
painful.
It's a really dumb argument, but like...
Alright, so get rid of the condoms. Bring back the aspirin.
No, leave everything.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if that were the issue, then just, what happened with the tampons? What did the tampons encourage? Being hygienic?
Getting your period.
Yeah, fuck you, you heathen. Why are you getting your period? You should be pregnant by now. Like, what are we doing? Those should 100% come back, and they should all be touchscreens, super modernized, and they could have like a bunch of different kinds of shit in there, like.
It's like a vending machine, but just
full of pharmaceuticals.
You know what? I have a photo. I went to New York when I went to Hofstra for that tryout.
Yeah.
And I was in the hospital. I was like, let me check out the vending machine. In front of the cookies I wanted were 2 condoms.
That's what's
in
up.
The vending machine. I was like, but I don't need these condoms. I want the cookies, but I'm not buying these. They were, I don't even remember what brand they were, but I remember reading them like I've never heard of that in my entire life.
Well, when I was coming back down from New York, in New Jersey, there was a vending machine for cake.
Yeah, but
legitimate cake slices.
Was it for like Carlo's Bakery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a wild thing to experience.
Well, apparently that's a thing in Japan. They have vending machines for everything.
Well, yeah.
And so like a cake vending machine.
Which I'm a fan of. I think there should be more vending machines.
I laughed at my cousin because she went there and I think she was there like a week and a half. And all of her pictures and videos, like half of them were just
vending machines?
Eating from vending machines and going to 7-Elevens. Because 7-Elevens over there are wild.
Really?
Yeah, you get like fried chicken, like fresh fried chicken, ramen, eggs, all the.
I think it's funny though that it's a 7-Eleven. Is it like legitimately a 7-Eleven, or is it just the equivalent?
Yeah. It's just the way they.
That's so cool.
Go above and beyond.
Because here
the quality is.
We do things like that, but then we're like, it's called Wawa or Buc-ee's, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. Like,
right.
You could never in a 7-Eleven
This is above. This is above that. They have another one. It's called Lawson's, which is like.
That I feel like I've heard of.
It's very famous in Japan. But it's like.
There's no way that's not in America, because that name sounds very familiar. Maybe not here. Sounds like.
Definitely not Florida, because I'd make sure I live next to one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Wawa's solid.
Wawa. Yeah. When I came down to down here, there's no Wawas in New York.
Right.
It's not up there. When I came down here, and there's a Wawa relatively close to my house, and I was like, what's the deal? Because everybody's like, Wawa this, Wawa that. And it took me a little bit, but eventually I came around to the fact that Wawa is dope.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Don't get me wrong. But there are tons of equivalents.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, the particular place I went before I came here is very kind of Wawa-ish.
They're trying?
Yeah, it's Wawa-ish. Like, there used to be a place where I used to work down in Long Beach on Long Island. And I think they have them here too. And I've never seen them, but I'm sure. It was called Circle K. Yeah. And it was the same idea. Like, virtually the same idea.
There's not one far from here.
Yeah.
We cannot go at this hour. But one of these days during daylight, we can.
Like, that is, you know what I mean? Like, so I get it. I get the whole Wawa thing. And the food is very good. And there is a lot of selection and all that stuff. But, like, this has been done. I don't know why everybody got so absolutely obsessed with Wawa.
So, at least around here, there was 0 Wawas.
Well, there is now.
Right. There's one on every corner.
There's everywhere, yeah.
But that's probably within the last, 2-3 years.
And it's great.
But before that, the closest one I think was Orlando.
Yeah.
And everybody was like,
well, they blew up. They're like, they're like now what 7-Eleven is on Long Island in New York. You can't go a block on Long Island without hitting a 7-Eleven. Every block's got a 7-Eleven. You're never too far from a 7-Eleven. In fact, you could be at a 7-Eleven and see another 7-Eleven in the distance. There are just so many of them. And it's awesome, right? Because you can be anywhere at any time and pop into a 7-Eleven. But here, it was weird because, I was so used to that, and then I came here, and I would see a 7-Eleven, every now and again. It is not as...
There's so much...
There's not as much fucking 7-Eleven.
There's so much variety as far as gas stations.
Yeah, there's so much more Wawas than there are, 7-Elevens down here. Which... Wawas are sick. I would say probably, on average, a Wawa is better than a 7-Eleven. As far as, quality of food and variety.
Yeah.
If you were hey, you could have a Wawa on the street or a 7-Eleven. Most people are going to say Wawa. It's a better setup, I think. I think most people would go that way, but could be wrong. I don't know. I like Wawas. I don't think that the obsession is necessarily warranted.
No, I wish they had merch.
Do they not? Have
I
you
don't
ever
think
done a
so.
deep dive?
I have never seen it in all the walls I've been to, but I have not done my usual deep dive in the.
I wish there was a
Wawa.
Buc-ee's down here.
I keep hearing about it.
Because it's like a Wawa thing. Like everyone's obsessed with the Buc-ee's.
I think people who are obsessed with Buc-ee's just don't have a Wawa.
Nah, there's 100% Wawas in that area. Because it's up northern Florida. It just like I think you hit like close to Orlando area and it stops. It might even not even reach Orlando. It might be.
Well, I'm going up there, so we'll see. We'll see if I cross a Buc-ee's.
Because I passed one on the way down here from New York, and I think it was more up in like the Gainesville area.
I'm not going that far.
Yeah, it's up there. Which that area of Florida is a very strange area of Florida.
I've been.
It shouldn't, and I could be wrong in this statement, but like I don't even think it should be a part of Florida. It's like an extension of Georgia.
No, you're right.
It really is. Like.
So you are currently in South Florida.
You didn't put your sign on.
Above Orlando, another lighting issue. It's so goddamn bright. It works, but it's so goddamn bright. Yeah. So maybe when I do my rants, when someone doesn't show up again,
yeah,
I'll do a little. I think it'll work for a close up, but like at this where we have the camera now and stuff, it didn't work. It was washing everything.
It's upsetting.
But when I do my next solo one, 'cause somebody just keeps not showing up. Be like that. You're here, Sam. It's okay.
I'm here. And clear.
Speaking of you being here, how do you like the fact that every time you meet one of my family members, you guys become best friends?
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel like that's something that happens to me very frequently. I just mesh with a lot of people. I can always find common ground with somebody about something. Me and your brother are like ride or die people, right?
Yeah, you guys.
I only met him like really once, I think, and we're forever now. We're intertwined. Like he could call me right now, and I will.
You guys take a blood oath. Yeah.
Worse, we took a clothing oath.
Yeah.
We're just sharing wardrobes.
You shove each other's shirts up your asses.
Well, yeah, and I don't know who that's more insulting to, him or me. That the fact that our wardrobes are so in sync, but. Yeah, and we're also on the same antidepressant type roller coaster.
Have you purchased your creatine yet? God damn it, Sam.
You're
buying all this goddamn mountain water, but you can't buy.
Listen, I'm already in the hole so deep for this thing that I'm doing that I can't really talk about, but I'm doing something in a couple of not even a couple of weeks. Next week I'm leaving, and I can't. I'm already in the hole like $250.
Okay.
For the amount of stuff I've had to obtain.
Listen, Sam. I get that. But this is like max $30. I literally gave you medical information that says this will drastically help you over.
Is it legitimate medical information though?
Yes.
Or is it like Joe Rogan medical information?
No. I looked it up because I was very between you and people I care about that have these issues. There's me who doesn't seem to have too much of that problem.
Must be nice.
It sucks when you're like, there's no way I can help people I care about with that
True.
issue. So when I found
something, it's gotta be dope though.
So when I found something like the sliver of like hope that like maybe this can help somebody.
I really should get it and try it.
And I was just like, okay, let me actually look into it. So there's actual Department of Health studies that were conducted. This is legit. It's shown to help if you're on these medications already to help improve your mental state.
Just
how you feel?
Less sad. Be a little less sad.
Yeah.
I'm not so much sad as I have just wild anxiety. And I get sad as a result of the wild anxiety.
And as a result, you're prescribed the same goddamn medication.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
I remember having a conversation with my doctor that I was like, where in the brain does this shit occur? She was, talking about like the amygdala, and I was like, can we remove that completely? Like, what happens if we got rid of that? And she was like,
called lobotomies, and we're gonna do them.
Well, I said something like, I'm down for a lobotomy, and then I was like, wait a minute, we're advanced at this point. We don't have to do lobotomies. We have lasers and shit. Like, can we just zap that one spot, the amygdala, that seems to be the root of all of the like fight or flight panic situations. And she's like, well, then you probably just like will no longer fear anything. Like you will fear nothing. And I was like, where is the downside? That sounds sick. And she's like, well, like
She's
you
gotta
could.
be so concerned.
I mean, God bless her.
Stress her out.
But like, I was like, that sounds dope. Where's the downside? And she was like, well, it could be really dangerous. I was like, I won't fucking know. So like, what are we? I was like, you're gonna die. Everybody dies, right? But imagine you die and you have no fear. I'm a fucking genius. Because we're all gonna die. We don't know how. We don't know when. Could be a heart attack. Somebody could hit you with their car, whatever. But you got no fear about it. Where is the downside, Mark?
I don't know, but there's also people that just live that way. So
Yeah, but we call them sociopaths.
a little bit, but
100%
it's
sociopath.
clearly a spectrum. And there's a couple normal people in between that and you.
I don't even know what normal is anymore. I don't think anybody knows what normal is anymore.
Yeah, normal's just you're not cutting your dad's head off and putting it on YouTube.
I don't know, man. Like I genuinely don't know what normal is
Did you
anymore.
hear about that?
No.
Oh.
Guy cut his dad's
Some
head
guy
off.
cut his dad's head off, put it in a baggie, and literally made a YouTube video, and he's holding it up.
How did they verify that was legitimately his head?
Well, when it was posted to YouTube, people saw it, reported it. They took it down, and then obviously the guy used his YouTube channel.
Facts.
So they tracked him down, and cops showed up. They found his dad's head in like a stew pot or something in his room or some shit.
Yeah.
Fucking nuts.
That's never a good choice. There are so many other things to make stew out of.
There's no one tastes it.
Yeah, it's not it. It's not it. Cannibalism is never the answer. Or murder. Both. Murder or cannibalism. But yeah, I don't even know what normal is anymore. I don't think anybody knows what normal is.
Well, when you get your creatine, you'll find out. Okay.
Like, yeah. I mean, it goes... If I'm gonna blame anybody, I want to go back to blaming the energy drink market.
Oh,
They're the issue. Not my parents, not my upbringing, not my biological brain. It's the energy drink companies.
There's altering your brain chemistry. It's all their fault.
Do you know what I think a cure is for this, by the way? Cuban food.
It is good.
Holy... I've been missing out on Cuban food. Wow.
You have.
I was saying this to our mutual friend when we went to lunch today, when we went to get Cuban food, that where I'm from...
Pause on the Cuban food, because new setup, so let's do a mic check.
Mic check. Is it good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
I was going to say, like, where I'm from, in New York, there's not a lot of Cuban influence, because I don't think they migrate up that far. They're like,
they
fuck
get
it.
to New York, I just don't know if they get to your New York.
Well,
are they allowed?
They're allowed. Well, I said, everybody's allowed in New York, apparently.
I don't know about your part.
But like I said, I was like, I'm sure there are Cuban restaurants in Manhattan, right? There's restaurants for everything in Manhattan. Yeah. But it's not nearly as ubiquitous as down here. Like, you can find a ton of really amazing Cuban food here. And you don't have to go to Miami. You don't have to go to any of these major cities, because there's a lot more Cuban influence down here. He said, I said to him, I was like, I don't really, it's not as much experience up there. And he's like, yeah, it's a lot of Puerto Ricans. And I was like, I don't even know if that's a jab at anybody. And I can't even verify that.
It was a jab because he's Cuban, but also factual.
He's like, not a lot of Cubans, a lot of Puerto Ricans. Yeah. And I was like, all right.
There's a lot of Puerto Ricans up in there.
Like, is that a jab? But, so yeah, this being down here is like really kind of my first experiences with Cuban food. And everything I've eaten that is Cuban food has been delicious. Like, a wonderful experience. So that's something I need to get into more.
Okay. Next time I make Cuban food, we'll let
Well, Chris is our mutual friend. And I was saying to him that when we were trying to figure out a place to go for lunch, that I was like, I've been craving a solid Cuban sandwich. And I was like, I've been talking to Mark about it. I've been battering Mark. I was like, why are you asking Mark? Mark's not Cuban. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, at the risk of sounding racist, I don't know.
I'm 100% Cuban. What are you talking about?
I was like, is he
this.
not Cuban? And he is like, he's not Cuban. And I was like, okay. My bad.
There's no shot. Is he trolling you?
You're not Cuban, are you?
I'm 100% Cuban.
He says you're not Cuban.
I have a literal Cuban flag tattooed on my arm.
That's funny because we did talk about that.
Does he think it's Puerto Rican?
Yeah.
No shot. No shot. He thought it.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was Puerto Rican or he said like Dominican or something, but he didn't. He said you were not Cuban.
I'm 100% Cuban. I literally, dude, when I first met him, I asked him about his last name.
How do you say his last name? I don't know how to say his last name. Well, Sorry, Chris.
I don't want to say it.
Oh, fair enough. We'll have to.
But so what I'll explain is that the way it's pronounced, there's a derivative of the word guerra in his last name.
Interesting. Which is what?
Which is Spanish for war.
No shit.
So people from the Basque region in Spain tend to have something of that in their last name. My grandmother's maiden name has the same thing. Mm-hmm. It has a derivative of that word in there. Mm-hmm. So when he got there, I asked him, I was like, yo, is your family Basque? And he was like, I'm Cuban. I'm like, no, I know. Because they go from Spain to Cuba.
Right.
But I was like, your last name. I was like, are you Basque? And I was like, and someone else was standing there, and then I explained what I just explained to you. And he was like, oh, yeah. And he did something like that. I'm like, okay, so he got what I was saying. Clearly, no, he didn't get what the fuck I was saying.
That's hilarious. No, he 100% said you were not Cuban.
100% Cuban.
And then we talked about your flag and how something got messed up or something. So.
No, he might have heard me telling a story.
But I didn't think it was you. I thought it was somebody else. Because that's what I remember from the story. It wasn't you,
right?
It wasn't somebody else. Yeah, I remember that story.
I think he heard the story of what when my tattoo artist did my tattoo, he was telling me how he was in a shop and another artist that was
like, check this.
Well, no, he was doing the tattoo on some chick that was wearing a Cuban flag. And he was like, cool, man, I know nothing about Cuban flags, so please double check. And she's like, no, I know it's this. And at some point they took a break, and she thought that was the time to check it, and she was wrong. From what he told me, they were able to fix it somehow, like they weren't too far along. But I was like, dude, I knew what it was, 100%.
Yeah.
But when you sit down in a tattoo chair, it's like, just
double check that. Double check. That's funny. Well, it's extra funny that he said that you weren't Cuban.
Well, that's okay.
How many people that we work with that are Cuban?
There's a few.
Really?
So there's Chris.
No.
Me apparently. But me.
Don't include yourself in that.
Yeah. So aside from me.
Because not a Cuban.
So we got Jeff, Jonathan.
Jeff's
Chris,
Cuban?
Joffrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
I think he's half. His last name.
Yeah. Yeah, but that could just be Spanish.
No, he's I believe he's half Cuban.
No way.
But he understands Spanish.
Does he?
He doesn't. I think he can speak a little of it, but I think he's super self-conscious about it.
That's funny.
I think the same thing with my brother. My brother knows Spanish, but I think he's super self-conscious about speaking it. I don't give a fuck. I know my accents went away a long time ago. Mm. Spanish was my first language, and then I moved down here.
Does your son speak Spanish?
I've got him a few words.
You should do that. You should make sure he's bilingual. So it's only an asset.
Because of the speech delay, I didn't want to press. I didn't want to press it. I was like, let's figure out English first.
Fair enough.
And then we'll add some more stuff.
Maybe it'll help though.
I don't
know anything about that.
So they actually said, I forgot who told us that not to do it because of the speech delay, and then we talked to somebody. We talked to a specialist, his original speech therapist, and she was like, no, actually, that doesn't bother them. Just don't speak Spanglish.
Yeah,
so like,
that makes sense. Then you mash it all up.
Like, if you're going to speak them in one language, like, finish the sentence or the phrase.
In that language.
And then switch to English and whatever, but don't mix it all up, and then you're going to confuse.
Yeah.
So, they said as long as you're not speaking Spanglish, it's not going to hinder them, even if they have speech issues. But he had a fair amount of
That's good.
speech issues. So I was like, let me just,
Well,
wait. But no, we have a couple books, and every now and again I'll read to him, but he knows what it is because he's heard people speaking.
Right.
He's like, oh, they're speaking Spanish, and I'm like, that's right. I was like, I speak Spanish, and he's like, that's crazy.
yeah. I mean, I think, even if it's not Spanish, I think like what a great opportunity for him to be able to speak Spanish because he can and he can have a secondary language. Like, but I feel like in this world, if this world survives another year, who even knows anymore, it's an asset to have, first of all, be able to speak Spanish and then also to have a second language. Like, I only speak English very badly. And that's a huge deficit for me. Not speaking another language and not speaking Spanish, it hinders you. And it's not like to the point where like, oh, you won't be successful, you won't get jobs. But like, it opens so much more opportunity for you to be able to speak Spanish.
Well, it's helpful. Like, you never know. Like, the amount, I don't do it often, but sometimes you'll hear something. So because it's a language in my head, I can't not hear it. So like, somebody walks past you speaking Spanish, I heard gibberish. Like, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So somebody walks past me speaking Spanish, like, I just understood everything they said, even though they weren't speaking to me.
Yeah.
Heard it in passing, so, maybe I heard some funny shit, or maybe I heard, like, yo, go look over there, because, Spanish people like to gossip, so usually they got some
That's so fun.
They got some chisme, so I want to see too.
That's fucking funny.
But, no, I mean, I want him to learn, but I don't want to press things. He's at that age where, like, if you press something, he's probably not going to want to do it.
Interesting.
Because
I don't know how kids work at all.
I don't either.
Because
a day at a time, Sam.
I have no idea how children work.
It is.
No
book. No book.
I feel like some people are very natural with kids though. Like they're just like natural parents. You know what I mean? Like they rock through it, and then some. Then I think like there's the majority of everybody else that's just like, holy shit, we are just doing it day by day, guys. We're out here. I would, if it were me, again, knowing nothing about children, I would approach it as like, keeping culture alive, because I think that's so important. As opposed to like, you need to learn this, like you need to learn this language, you need to understand these words, as like, you're a part of this great culture, and you're a part of this heritage and this family. Like, that's why you learn this. That's why you speak this. Like, not because, hey, you need to do this kind of a thing. Like, I think that's, and I can only speak from, having Jewish history. Yiddish is a language that a lot of Jews from the region of Europe I come from speak, and because it's a dying language. It is dying out. There are people that it's going to go away because a large generation just stopped speaking it and stopped teaching it to people. My grandmother could speak Yiddish no problem, full sentences. My mom kind of knows some words. I know like maybe one or two. It's a dying language. It's going to die. And that's really sad because it's part of a culture, it's part of a history, it's part of a heritage, and it's going away. Spanish won't go away, right? Because it's, I think, much more prevalent language.
Well, there's whole countries where they only speak.
Right, and Yiddish was really always kind of like a subsect language, I guess, of some kind. I don't know. I don't know linguistics. Let me start off by saying I don't know linguistics, and I don't know histories of languages, but I do know that Yiddish is dying out, which is sad, because it did have an important part in a lot of movies and TV, and you look at like Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? And that's a show that has tons of Yiddish and tons of Jewish overtones to it. And I watch a show like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I just see like my life, like I just see my family. Like I try to explain it to people, and I'm like, I don't like Curb Your Enthusiasm because I find too much similarities between what goes on in that show and my life. So people love to watch that show, but for me, I'm like, it's already a headache being me. I don't need to watch it on television.
So, speaking to the cultural part, like disappearing, do you personally try to kind of keep stuff alive?
It's weird for me because I didn't grow up with that influence in my life, which is why, if I were you, or if I had that influence, I'd give it to my kids, because I think it's important for the kids, but it's also important for that history and culture to, go on. Like, I think it's so important that, if you're part of a culture, whatever it is, that you continue the traditions of those cultures. I mean, like, it gets poo-pooed all the time, people like not wanting to do them or not participate in them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're so good. I think it's important. Even if you don't necessarily believe 100% in whatever that activity is, like, doing it and keeping that tradition or that culture alive, I think is so important. I think so many people are just, like, blended into each other these days, which isn't a problem. Like, it's fine, but I think, belonging to something is so important for kids. I didn't have that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My parents very intentionally raised both me and my brother as secular as possible. Whether my father originally told me that the reason for that was he wanted me and my brother to make our own decisions in life. Okay. Whether that's true or not, I kind of think it's not. I just think my parents were wildly lazy.
Hippies, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, former hippies, right? Like, I don't think that they didn't want to be a part of any of those things. Neither one of my parents were particularly religious, and they really didn't bring any of the culture of Judaism into our home whatsoever. And I think that's really messed up. But you can't, like, really like, retrospect kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to keep those things alive, right? Because then you look at me, and I don't have any Jewish identity. I just don't. I'm ethnically Jewish. Everybody in my family is Jewish. I have no allegiance to Judaism. So, like, that's a culture that basically died with me. And my brother.
You wrecked it.
Ruined it. But it means nothing to me. So, like, I think that if that were something that was more pushed on by my parents, like, yeah, like, I would have learned these things, but they let it die, and therefore, like, that culture dies with me. I have nothing to give you, really. Like, I can't really tell you much about a lot of, Jewish traditions. Like, I know some things, but, like, not a lot. And, like, I don't speak a lot of Yiddish. I know some Yiddish. I can understand some of it sometimes, but, like, can't speak it like 2-3 generations could. It just, went.
Yeah, that's kind of like my struggle now, trying to, like, keep. So, like, Sab doesn't really. She doesn't really care too much about, like, her culture stuff at this point. Like, she was more like, felt like she was forced to do it as a kid, and now she's just like.
That's kind of how my parents felt.
She's, like, not very, she certain things, yes, but the majority of it's not, like, a major part of her life.
Mm-hmm.
But because of Killian, and he is half Trinidadian, and they have certain cultural things, so I'm like, well, I would like him to at least know what these things are. So yeah. I try to make a point to, like, certain holidays, like Diwali is a holiday, it's like their festival of light, stuff like that. It's very simple. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not it's not like Christmas. Like, you're not going all out. It's like you can do it in a day and just kind of show kid what it is. And so stuff like that I want to, like, keep around. Yeah. Just because
it's a nice thing for the kid. If nothing else, like, I mean, I could be wrong, but, like, I think it's important to have kids included in something, to have, like, a sense of belonging. Because I can only say to somebody who didn't have that, like, there's an absence of that in your life, where you're like, where do I fit, right? Because everybody around you has something, right? Like, they're Catholic, they're Christian, Jewish, whatever, and they're doing their own thing. They're doing a holiday, they're going to church, whatever it is, right? A majority are doing something. But if you're out there just doing nothing, it's like you feel ostracized. So it's like, even if you're not like, man, I really could care less about this particular thing, maybe get your kids involved in it a little bit.
Just show a little effort. So they know what it is. Like, I mean, you want them to know what it means to be whatever it is they are. Yeah. Like, I'm not expecting you to go all out, but.
Like, you should have some kind of understanding.
Like, you should know what it means. Like, if I say, hey, you're Cuban, like, if I say that to my kid, like, I want him to know what that means.
For sure, which is so important.
What does that mean?
Yeah, like, this is something you are a part of.
Yeah, like, this is kind of people you come from.
Yeah.
same thing. This is your mom's side. This is kind of people you come from on this side. Like, this is...
I think, like, we've as a society kind of gotten away from that a lot because I think people are very nervous of, like, alienating other cultures or, like being superior to another culture. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, like, I know when I was growing up and, like, people were very nervous to, like, push an agenda one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they, you know, when I was growing up, where I lived, you were Christian, or rather, you were Catholic. Everybody was Catholic. I was the only Jewish kid in my elementary school. So,
you made it out alive.
I was bringing latkes to every party. Like, no joke, when you have those little parties in school for the holidays, there was only one kid on duty for the latkes. Me.
Like,
That's it.
20.
I was like, I gotta go home and now ask my mom to make latkes, and she doesn't want to make latkes because she doesn't give a shit. And I gotta go home and be like, I've got the Christmas party on Friday, Mom.
I put my name down on the list. Like,
there's only one kid to bring latkes. Yeah. It's gonna be me.
So I had their name down for the napkins, and all that was left.
Everyone's gonna bring something. You know, Joseph's bringing Christmas cookies, Ma. Get the hash browns going because we gotta be there on Friday. But yeah, you know, I think people were very nervous about, like, pushing any kind of agenda. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want to be like, this is my thing and this is better. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think people were nervous. So I think a lot of that, like, kind of got, like, pushed away. Like, we're not going to talk about religions in school. We're not going to have a Christmas party. It's a holiday party, you know? And it's like, which is right. I think it should be a holiday party.
But that's a Christmas tree.
Yeah. And everything is red and green. Like, who are we fucking fooling?
We just made macaroni ornaments. What do you mean? It's not Christmas.
I had Christmas parties when I was in elementary school. Did you have Christmas parties?
Yeah.
There's always Christmas parties. There is no room for any other religions.
They always... So this is the funny thing. I remember it being always called a Christmas party, but they would have, like...
It was multi...
There would be a dreidel.
Yeah.
There would be, like, a poster board dreidel on the wall. And then you got...
You were an afterthought.
You got the Kwanzaa candles
yes,
over here. Like,
yes.
Everybody was represented.
We're also not going to really talk about the other religions. We're going to have something for them. But we're not going to be like, and guys, this is what Kwanzaa is. Nah.
I think I had one class when I was, like, in elementary school where they were like...
I think we also
specifically went over Kwanzaa.
And everybody was kind of just like, what do we say about Kwanzaa right now? Like, what do we say? What do we do? How do we say this in a sterile way?
I remember
that's also positive.
It was a book. It was like they read a book to the class.
I think like we did like like one of those like worksheets. You know, like they always have like a worksheet, which is just a piece of printer paper. Don't know why they call that.
The right way.
Yeah, and then you read a little blurb, then you color in the candles, and then you read another blurb, and then on the back is a crossword for Kwanzaa. I'm sorry how on point that is. It's not changed in millennia. I don't think. I think, you know, way back when, on stone tablets, they had crosswords. They were like, find the words for Kwanzaa. Find Jesus on this crossword. You know, it's a real shame that the other person that was supposed to be here...
As soon as you said tablets...
isn't here.
All about the tablets.
Because this person is
no
a
one
part...
else can read off the tablets. But, you know...
the tablets aren't for you.
I'll take your fucking word for it.
Listen, he is the first... I'm gonna say it correctly and in not the derogatory term because I'm learned. I'm a scholar. This particular person is a part of the Church of Latter-day Saints. They're a member of the Church of the Latter-day Saints, right?
LDS all day. Let's go.
Right. He's apparently Mormon is derogatory, which I didn't know that. And I don't even know if that's 100% true or that it's just not like a nice word to say.
So, from what I understand, it's too broad. Because there are people who claim to be Mormon and they do things that aren't so Mormon-y.
Are you talking about like the outside
outsider
polygamy?
Yeah, all that jazz.
Gotcha.
So they obviously claim that they're Mormon and that's why this is okay. And then I asked him about that and he just flat out told me, he's like, yeah man, at a time when it was necessary for procreation, like yeah, it's what they did. It's like I don't know. He said it hasn't been okay for a very long time.
It has not been okay.
But people do it and they use that excuse.
I don't know if that's necessarily true what he's saying because and we won't know because he can't be bothered to show up. But our resident LDS expert. But as far as I understood, whatever ancillary research I did was that it was a particular person who did that, right? Who offshot and had multiple wives or whatever. But it wasn't for the necessity, I think, of procreation. I just think that that's what he really thought the interpretation was, or whatever the case. I don't think there was the ulterior of for procreation. And then eventually they were like, nah. I don't know the intricacies of it, but like when I...
Well, that's what he told me, and I took his word for it, because and I always give him credit for this, he's very devout.
He is,
all about his faith. And
which is so fascinating
I respect that.
Yeah.
So when I ask him a question, he tells me something, I just take his answer at face value. I don't necessarily look it up.
Well, I feel like that might have just been an easy answer. It's easy to be like, that's an easier answer. And then you get like really into the intricacies of it. But he's like the first member of the church I've ever met. Ever. Is he the first member?
That wasn't knocking on your door?
No, they don't knock on our door where I'm from. That's what I'm saying. Like, that is not a thing. Like, I've tried to explain this to him. I was like, maybe in Manhattan, because I think there's a large LDS church in Manhattan. I think he told me that. But where I'm from, on Long Island, there ain't no members of the LDS church. They're not there. Okay, you're either Jewish or you're Catholic or you don't live there. That's it.
Gotcha.
I don't, I never in my life have met somebody from the LDS church. He's the first person I've ever met. So I was telling him, I was like, no one's ever knocked on my door. That's never been a thing. So like I've had just, very deep conversations with him because I think it's really interesting. I think the whole religion is interesting. And he very much is devout, like you were saying. He's very much... He's in it. He's a believer. So it's super cool to talk to him about it. Because he really thinks that's the thing, right? Like he's not like a casual, like he is, which I don't think you can be a casual LDS person either.
Well, I don't think you should be a casual any religion.
Why not?
So it's kind of like the point. Like I believe in this, and this is what I
meant cash and like, you go to church, you do your thing, and like you believe your thing. I think like the people of this church, and I could be wrong, are pretty, like, they have missions, right? They go out to try to spread this word. A lot of religions aren't doing that, right? It's not really, the Christians had the Inquisition, and they were like, maybe we shouldn't do this ever.
Apparently it's a normal thing for them to beef with Jehovah's Witnesses.
They what?
They beef with Jehovah's Witnesses.
That sounds accurate. Now, those guys be knocking on my door.
Well, no,
those guys have got experience.
No, that's their beef.
Why? Because
that they don't knock on the door. They'll just be posted up on the street corner, and they're not actually out doing like...
The Jehovah's Witnesses?
Right.
Well, that's not a thing. No, so where I came from, they're coming knocking on your door.
Oh, see? Around here, you'll see them on the corner, and they'll have like their 4-foot tall sign.
That's right.
And they're just standing on the corner, and they're waiting for people to come by so they can get pamphlets. Yeah. Around here, the Mormon, the LDS, dude, they'll come to your front door.
Have you ever had somebody come to your door from the LDS church?
Not here.
I've never had.
Not here, but definitely definitely my grandmother's house in Boynton.
No kidding.
A lot.
No way. Is there an LDS church out there?
I don't know. I don't know where Dan goes.
I'm waiting.
I don't know where his temple is.
We don't know.
Called it
I'm waiting for them to knock on my door. I'm waiting to have a conversation. I will have a conversation, which is what any people I've talked to that have either been former church members or know people in the church have always been like, that's the first mistake you make is inviting them in your house to have conversations because they're there to convert you. They're not there to just like hang out and chat. But I just want to talk, man. Like I just want to have a conversation.
Yeah, so you just gotta stay in the doorway and talk to them.
I'll invite them in.
They're like vampires. They come inside.
I'll invite them in. I'm waiting for them to come to my door in their little outfits. I want them to come in. I'm gonna be like, sit down. How you doing? Tell me some stuff, man. So that's why we keep badgering our mutual friend who just refuses to show up because we don't have access to the LDS church like I feel like we should. They're out there knocking on every other door but ours.
We should knock on their door. I don't know how well that's gonna go, but.
Yeah. Him and I too have very interesting conversations about the fact that I'm Jewish, And well, apparently there's some very like symmetrical type
There's some parallels.
Parallels to like Judaism and people of the LDS Church. And I think him and I had some sort of a conversation basically saying like the Jews kind of like went off the rails or something, and like the LDS Church went in the correct direction. But there are some, from what I understand, very similar things. And then things get a little out there. But maybe I can take him. I've been trying to go to Utah.
Well, I told him I want to go with him and interview.
Oh, to go to
at BYU.
BYU, yeah.
Someone's actually already doing that, which is kind of.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, he's asking him some wild questions, which is all I wanted to do. I told him all I want to do is like infiltrate a party, and then see if I could interview somebody who's over here soaking and/or bouncing. Yeah. So this whole time, I can't even remember where I saw this. So, because of how my dorm was set up, I completely forgot that some dorms have bunk beds.
I don't think they have them anymore.
Well, apparently they do there because...
That's a wild situation.
So,
that's unnecessary.
This whole time, I thought somebody, when they talked about bouncing, that the one couple was at one end of the bed, someone was at the foot, someone was at the head of the bed.
Okay.
And you're just looking at the wall while this is going on, trying to not make it weirder than it is. Apparently the move is the couple gets on the top bunk, and then the person that's going to bounce actually gets on the bottom bunk and just sticks their feet up underneath them and just like does this with their feet.
Have we had any have we ever verified these claims though?
Yes.
Really? I have. It's been verified. That's a thing that's occurring.
Yes.
If you're circumnavigating so much so of this thing, like, are you even
it's not
participating
okay.
correctly at
It's
this
100%
point?
not okay.
Yeah, what are we doing? At that point, you might as well just break whatever covenant you have going on.
Yeah, it's not a loophole. You're not getting around anything. Sorry.
Listen, I think, you might want to look into that a little deeper. If you're trying so hard to circumnavigate this one particular thing, maybe this ain't for you.
Also, per these interviews I've seen, apparently a regular occurrence is that students will get married like within weeks of getting to school.
That I kind of understand.
Because they meet some chick and they meet somebody and they're like, we got to do this, but they're like, there's no way I'm doing it if we're not married. So it's just like, all right.
But that's also like
that's nuts.
But that's like a culture that promotes young marriage, so it's like. You know what I mean? And I think I've seen things, like, not these particular interviews, but I've seen things that have been like, that they met somebody for the first time and then, like, within 6 months were married and that was it. They got married, they had kids, they did the thing. And they just went on happily like that. Like, I think that's just a thing in their culture. It's very normal for them to get married young and just start popping out kids.
Don't waste time. Let's go.
But, we're going to have to go to Utah and check it out. I remember asking our friend, too, I was like, if you get closer to Salt Lake City, do you get less religious? And he's like, no, you get more religious the closer you get to Salt Lake. And I was like, what kind of a city do you get closer to a city and it gets more religious as opposed to less religious? Like, what city have you been in that you were like, things are getting way more religious so the closer I get to this city?
None I wanted to stay in. But that's also we're in the South. So.
Like, you get closer to Fort Lauderdale, not only does it get less religious, it gets way more dangerous and also, like, anarchy.
Florida's wild.
I feel really comfortable in Fort Lauderdale. It makes me think a lot of home. Like,
Why?
I don't know. It's not a good place. It's not a good area. I don't know. When I go into Fort Lauderdale, I mean, there are nice areas in Fort Lauderdale. But, like, when I come off I-95 and I'm entering Fort Lauderdale.
Anywhere in Florida off 95 is fucking rough.
Dude, I rolled up. I remember the first time I went to Fort Lauderdale, and I came off 95, and I was, like, right next to, like, I think, like, some sort of, like, auto shop or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I feel comfortable here. This feels good. Like, I felt good. I felt like, man, I feel like I'm back in a shitty-ass neighborhood. And I felt good. You know what I mean? There's so many parts of this area that are, like, of South Florida that are, I don't know if that's, like, fake. Like, I don't know if fake's the word, but it's just different from what I'm used to. Like, they maybe try to cover up
It's a very strange place.
the, like, the underbelly of things. Like, they try to make it look very nice and clean.
Florida's really weird because you go from, like, if you start at, we have, the whole state is beachfront property. So you have all this beachfront property, so you get all this money, but then you just drive a couple miles west, inward, and then you get to, like, nothing but hood and poverty.
Yeah.
You drive a couple more miles, and then you get into, like, middle class. Drive a few more miles from that, you're back into opulence. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you get
it's
these
confusing.
giant, like, properties and all this land.
You can go to Fort Lauderdale and, like, you will drive a block of it being a very bad neighborhood, and then quite literally the next block is a very rich area, which is so different from New York, where I'm from. Like, if it's a bad town, it's just a bad town. Like, you can't go to that town and be like, this side of the town is good and then this side is not. Like, if that's as close as you would get to the stark difference. Like, you pass this side of the road, and the north part of this town's a bad town, right? And then the southern part's, like, nice, whatever. That's as much, like, division as you would get. But, like, here, you can literally go a block where it is a bad like, windows up neighborhood, and then you go another block and it's windows down, everything's really nice and clean and expensive. And it's very confusing.
It's a very strange.
I don't get it.
Strange dynamic.
It's very weird. And then, every now and again, in between these areas of like, being very dangerous, dirty, bad area, and richness, like, there's this weird time where you sometimes just you enter, like, a farm in the middle of the town, and you're just like, what happened? Like, I'll never like, for the Loxahatchee Nature Preserve. That's, like, if you go straight down Boynton, and you get on 441. You can go to this nature preserve that is, you would think that you are literally out in the middle of nowhere land.
Yeah.
It's so confusing to me. It's so different from what I grew up in that it's very hard. So yeah, it's weird to me, for sure. Like,
it's weird to everybody.
Like, even if you're in, like, West Palm, right? And I remember I was going to, like, Tractor Supply. Like, dude, when you go out to Tractor Supply in that area, there's like a farm college or whatever, agricultural college, and you have this huge fucking, like, area of just land, and I'm like, there's no way I'm still in Florida. I traveled somewhere else.
There's no way I'm still in Palm Beach. Like, this doesn't make sense.
No way. It's wild. But beautiful. I really like those areas. Those areas are, like, my favorite areas to be.
The farms?
Yeah. That's why I want to go to Utah, because it's very pretty. Well, no, it's just apparently really pretty. There's mountains. Man, mountains trip me out.
Like, you don't get it?
No, I just see them, and I'm just like, these things are crazy. Because you didn't grow up with mountains, I didn't grow up with mountains, and now we're in Florida, no mountains. But, like, you go to states that have mountains, and you're like, whoa, what in the fuck is that? You just drive around and experience that? That's crazy.
I remember I went to Atlanta once, and I stayed in Stone Mountain, and we were driving somewhere, and the guy I was with was like, oh, you turn around right now, you can see Stone Mountain. I turn around, there's a giant mountain on the horizon, and I'm like, oh, there's an actual mountain. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, dude, I live in Lake Worth. There's no fucking lake.
Flat.
Like,
Like, we're no lake. There's man-made lakes.
Like, this makes sense. Like, it's called Stone Mountain, and
there's the mountain. Yeah. It's just so crazy, but, like, there's so many states that I really didn't realize how beautiful they are, like Utah, or recently I've become really obsessed with Idaho. Idaho is breathtakingly gorgeous. I gotta go. Like, I am now, like, I have to go to Idaho. But I have to go to Oklahoma first, because my brother's fiance is from Oklahoma, and I'm like, I have to visit. I feel like I'd like it there. It's also very pretty, though, so. These weird states you don't think about.
Never.
Idaho, Oklahoma. Apparently North Dakota and South Dakota are very beautiful.
I'm sure they are. It's just, but what am I doing other than staring at scenery?
Nature, man.
I know I like nature, but what am other?
That's it, man. Just sit out there. No, go for a hike. Go camping. Live in the nature.
I gotta take the kid camping.
Yeah, I gotta go camping too.
He wants to go camping. He hasn't said anything in a while, but he was on it for a while. For a good, 2 months. He's like, I want to go camping.
Are you a camper?
I've never camped, but I'm not opposed to camping. The missus is not all for camping.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to do some kind of glamping situation. Just so
what does that
happy.
mean, though? Have you thought about that? What's that entail?
So...
You're going to go to, a campsite? Or...
Probably a campsite that has, a pre-built installation there.
No.
So I don't have to worry about me... I don't think, as much as she loves me, I don't think she's getting in a tent I put together myself. So...
Why not? It's a tent. It can't be that... They have tents now that they just pop up.
No, I know. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to feel comfortable.
Well, you got to be also, baby, there ain't no choice.
Also, you got to understand camping in Florida is a little bit more involved because of how much crazy wildlife we have.
For sure.
So...
But bring a gun. You've got guns.
I got guns. But... I also don't want to wake up to a gator outside.
I think you should go to
Corbett. Have you ever seen that video?
What?
The guy wakes up in his tent in the middle of the night, he just hears something and he opens the zipper, and there's at least 50 alligators all up the bank, all around him.
I would shit so hard. I would shit so hard.
It is nuts. He's just
one, I can kind of live. I'm alright. I'm doing okay. 2, little dicey. A whole bank of them? Absolutely not. I'm shitting myself. I'm leaving everything at the campsite and I'm driving away.
You can't go anywhere. No, he was surrounded.
Oh my god!
He was surrounded in the middle of the
He couldn't escape?
No.
He was surrounded. The tent was surrounded.
Yes.
Why the fuck was he so close to an area that there's so many gators?
I don't know.
That's on him, dog. Because you can tell, apparently. I didn't know this, again, not being a native Floridian.
Yeah, they teach us this stuff in school.
Well, they teach you about, gator slides and stuff, and they're relatively easy to identify.
Gator slides had how you're supposed to run away from them.
Yeah, so, they have these things that you can pretty much... I can't recognize them so much. I'm kind of learning. But people who are native Floridians can understand, and they know. And it's not hard. So, how the fuck did you miss that many signs, sir? Come on. I'm less scared of the alligators, more scared of the wild boars.
It doesn't mess you up.
Because those guys are mad aggressive. And they're fast. And they'll pick a fight with you. I don't think alligators really necessarily want to fight with you. They got their own shit going on.
But we have Nile crocodiles now.
Those guys will fuck with you.
Yeah, they're highly aggressive.
Facts.
We also have saltwater crocodiles, so you can't even go to the beach and relax. We have tiger sharks and saltwater crocodiles. It's a little nuts.
Despite all of that, still not scared to swim in the ocean. I have massive
I love those. I'll swim in the ocean. I have zero problem with that.
But yeah, I'm more scared of the boars, honestly. They're very scary to me. They're very scary. And I would go, I like to go out a lot to the Corbett Wildlife area. And I'll never forget, I think the second or third time we went, that there's this large river. And across from the river was these, I don't know what kind of trees they are, but they're they're really skinny, tall trees. And the bottom part has no branches really, but it's just at the top.
Okay, I know.
And there was tons of them, huge, right? To the point where I would that's a forest of some kind, I don't know. But you couldn't see anything in between them. And all you could hear were these boars talking to each other. Mm. You could not see them, but you heard them.
Yeah,
and it was unnerving as fuck. They sound mean.
They are mean.
And I, mind you, in this same trip, saw an alligator in that river. And I was way more concerned with the boars I couldn't see.
Yeah.
Because I heard so many of them. I was like, that's a pack of boars hanging out, rooting around, looking for fucking trouble. And those motherfuckers will swim right across.
There's a video of, I think they were hunters. But they're going through snowy woods. And you kind of hear one boar, and you run, and they try to run, but they're in a foot of snow.
Yeah,
It just does not happen. And one of them turns around, You hear him start ripping rounds, I think, before you even see a pig. But when I tell you it was like 30 boars.
Because I would probably do that too. I'd probably just start
running
shooting
through
to try to. But I don't think they give a fuck.
Well, they have like this really tough breastplate. So, like people, that's why I tell people when they come to the shop, they're like, "Oh, I want to go boar hunting," and they want like something small.
Yeah.
Like, caliber wise, I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Dude, they have a really thick breastplate. Like, you need something bigger to make sure you go through that. Otherwise, you might just piss it off."
Yeah, people don't get that. They also think that they're like going to be expert shots and they're just going to like nail it.
Yeah, people can't hit shit.
They have no fucking idea. I'd be like, what can I get that I can shoot really fast? I'd be like, get me 308. I want a thing that shoots mad, like huge rounds. I want to fuck this thing up.
Yeah.
Because I know when I hit it with one round of 308, it's probably not going to go down, and it's now incredibly bad.
No, I'm throwing lead thumbs at you. That's what I want.
Dude, give me claymores. I need to set up a perimeter. And then, people are like, that's there's a lot of times when I've, people like hunting, right? And they're like, oh, you have such an unfair advantage. There are no unfair advantages with boars. Those guys they're out to hurt you. So I want claymores. I want frag grenades. I want anything you can get.
So
Flashbangs.
So you're not using this thing.
I don't give a fuck.
Imagine flashbang a fucking boar, and he goes blind and just starts sprinting around in circles with those tusks.
I don't think anything can phase those things. I think I genuinely think like boars are out for war, and if you stumble upon them, you've now engaged in combat. These things they're huge, and they're an invasive species, which just again leads to the fact of that.
Again, welcome to Florida.
Yeah, invasive species. So they're already a problem. They're a nuisance animal. You didn't just get that name just cause they're a nuisance animal. So they're gonna come out there. They're gonna be a fucking nuisance to you, your family, your car, whoever. Ron DeSantis. They're coming after everybody.
That's what you're gonna have to deal with.
Ron?
No, you're gonna have to deal with the boars. That's what the guard's gonna send you to do. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, secrets. Man, those things scare the crap out of me. They scare me. The alligators, not so much. Snakes, I'm like, So it was a very wild trip. I saw alligators on that trip. Heard the boars that were terrifying me. A snake fell from a tree. I was like, holy shit! Thank God I wasn't sitting under this tree. I would have died. And a dead otter. Didn't even know there were otters.
Otters are fucking mean too. Yeah, we have river otters.
They're mean?
They're mean and rapey.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did know is that they hold hands.
They hold hands.
Right? And so we saw this dead otter, and the otters are big too. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
They're quite large.
Yeah.
And so it was on the road and it was dead. And the person I was with was like, oh my God, there's an otter out there with his hand just out and nobody's holding it. And I was like, oh, that's so sad. But I guess they're mean. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're very.
I didn't know there were otters in this area.
Well, we have rivers.
Still didn't know there were otters.
Yeah. It's a river
Are they just like straight up otters? Or is there like different kinds of otters?
Yes, there's river otters. To break it down super simple, because I'm sure it's more complex than this. There are river, or I guess freshwater otters, and there's actual sea otters that will.
That makes sense.
That
makes sense. I guess I just didn't think they were.
I don't think they can go.
They can't traverse.
Yeah, they can't do that.
I just did not think there were otters here. I don't know what animal doesn't exist here. There's so many animals that are down here that it's hard to keep track of. Lizards, snakes, otters, coyotes, foxes, alligators, crocodiles,
Panthers.
Variety of snakes, panthers, bears.
We have bears.
Like what in the hell? Like
we have
what?
A ton of vultures, if you haven't noticed.
I don't think I've seen a lot of vultures. I've seen a lot of hawks. And
we definitely have hawks, but we have a ton of. I see them down this street all the time.
Vultures?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen one. But the hawks are crazy because I remember I think like it was like the first couple of months I was down here. I went to go to a Dollar Tree and there was this hawk in the sky. And I looked up and I saw this bird and its wingspan was
Like, why is it
crazy.
so fucking big?
And it was not that far up, but it was far enough that I was like, man, if that's its wingspan all the way up there, I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, that is a hawk. That is like a prehistoric creature in the air right now, circling this Dollar Tree parking lot. And I was like, there's nothing I need that bad in the Dollar Tree that I gotta come out now and maybe fight this bird. I was like, nah.
I was when my dad and my brother were here for Christmas. I forgot how we got on the subject, but I told them, I'm like, listen, we are so fucking lucky. We're not on the birds menu. Like, birds in general would fuck us up if they wanted to.
Dude, some of these birds are huge.
Some of these birds are massive. Some of them look fucking demonic.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a shoe-billed bird that lives in the Congo?
No.
It doesn't look real.
It probably exists
so
here.
Scary. It's so fucking scary looking.
Oh, maybe I think I have. It's a really scary looking bird.
Yeah.
It kind of burns in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And it makes a crazy sound. But yeah, we got giant hawks. Dude, a harp eagle is like 5 feet tall.
The fuck is that?
Oh, those things are kind of creepy. They don't look real. That's the thing. Like, they don't look real. Like, giant claws. They're as big as a
Is that something
person.
in Florida?
I don't think we have them in Florida.
Thank God.
But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of birds that are big enough to like pick up deer and shit.
I wonder where. That's
They
fucking
can pick
scary.
up kids. I've seen like a video or two where they like a hawk is like dove down and picked the kid up off of like a
Well, I know
off a
there's.
cliffside where like the family was just hanging out and they just fucking picked up the kid and then dropped it.
I know there's like birds. There's hawks and shit down here that are big enough to take dogs, like small dogs.
For sure.
Yeah, that I've heard pretty regularly. But I saw a fox the other day in Boynton, which was crazy. I could not believe my eyes. I also saw this really cute raccoon. He was big, this really big, fat, cute little raccoon. I wanted to just take him home with me. He was so cute. And he was by 441, Southern and 441.
Okay.
And I was so nervous that he was going to get hit by a car. Like, I was legitimately about to get out of the car
He'll be fine.
and give safe passage to this guy.
He didn't need it.
He was fine. He waited. He was patient.
Well, I nailed the raccoon into my car, and I looked in my rear view. He got up and walked it off.
Oh my God, he probably had
He dented the fuck out of my car.
It's okay. It's your fault.
He stepped off the median. It was not
Your fault.
It's his fault.
It's your fault.
Also, he ate that shit. So,
This was a large raccoon.
I'm convinced Florida raccoons are different from other raccoons.
They probably are. He was a big boy. Like, he's been around the block, so I'm sure he was fine. He was large.
We used to have
he ain't no tiny little
we
raccoon.
had 2 resident raccoons at our store.
Oh, really?
For a while, yeah.
Hmm.
They lived in the dumpster. Ralph and Perkins.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
One I think just moved on, and the other one we started seeing during the day.
Okay.
Which usually, and he was like digging through the trash can in the front. Usually that means that they're not eating because they're nocturnal. So usually that means they're hurt or sick, so they can't get food. So that like they're scrounging during like daylight hours. Yeah.
That makes me so sad. Poor little guy. When I was in New York, I was driving home after work, like at night, and I thought it was a cat. And I went to go pet. It was not a cat. It was 100% a raccoon.
We were walking after Christmas. It was like me, Killian, my dad, and my brother, and like as we were walking, this neighborhood has a bunch of big ass trees. So this thing just darts out in front of Killian and just goes straight up the tree. He's like, "What was that?" And I was like, it was a raccoon. He's like, "Really? Where'd it go?" And you look up in the tree and you just see eyes just staring at us.
Oh!
He had his little flashlight and he shined up there. You just see eyes. So it was like a whole family in the tree.
I didn't know raccoons live in trees.
Hanging out there. Where do you think they are?
I have no
We
idea.
have a lot of possums here.
I was just about to say, I don't see any possums, really.
I see them every now and again. They always looked pissed off that I see them. like you shouldn't be able to see me. Like,
Yeah, they have a... I fucking love possums so much. I think they're so fucking cute. And they get, like, a lot of unwarranted hate because they eat a lot of, like, pests. And they cannot contract rabies. Like, people think they're, like, full of rabies. They can't contract rabies. And, again, they eat, like, a lot of shit, like rats and bugs and, like, dead animals. Like, they take care of all that shit. But because they're, like, kind of ugly and also, like, weird looking. Like, people just are
I
fucking
mean, they
mean to
are
possums.
freaky looking.
They're freaky looking, but they're so great. And they do so many great things. Like, they're not out here eating fucking trash and knocking over trash cans like fucking raccoons, like those assholes, right? Like, they're cute, but they're kind of dicks, right? Possums, they're not bothering you. In fact, they're cleaning shit up around you. Like, the raccoons are out here being adorable and being assholes. Possums are out here getting a bad rap for looking crazy and creepy, right? And then they're like
But they're actually out here.
they're like the Steve Buscemi's of, like, they're like, oh god, what is that? But he's a phenomenal actor.
That's rude.
To the possum or Steve Buscemi?
Steve Buscemi.
But come on, we all know what
He
Steve
is a
Buscemi
hero.
looks like, right? Right? And then, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. But, Boardwalk Empire was a great show. Have you seen Boardwalk Empire?
I've seen scenes.
Right, and he was phenomenal in that. We all looked at him for long periods of time. So I think we could all, look at possums a little bit more,
Do
a
you
little
have
bit
a
more
man crush
kindly.
on Steve Buscemi?
Huh?
Do you have a man crush on Steve Buscemi?
Oh my god, no.
Sounds like it.
Do you have a man crush on? I mean, I think like Ryan Reynolds is really attractive. But I
Now,
think
is he
everybody
attractive
does,
because
right?
He's attractive, or because he's very sarcastic?
No, I just think he's attractive.
You think he's actually?
Who's the other one that's really attractive? He was in the Barbie. Oh, Ryan Gosling.
Mm.
Who doesn't love that guy? Come on. Like, he's great.
He was
Very
a piece of shit in The Place Beyond the Pines, but
I've seen that movie.
A piece of shit in that movie.
But he's still attractive in it.
Yeah, he's tatted.
He's on a motorbike. Listen, nobody tops my number one female crush in the world, which is Kristen Stewart.
Kirsten Stewart.
It's Kristen!
Kirsten Stewart.
It's never been Kirsten.
She looks like someone in a Blade movie that is trying to find the answer for the lack of blood in the area.
I've never seen
Blade.
it.
Gross. You've never seen any of
So
the
it's
Blade
lost
movies?
on me. No.
The
How
third
old
one
are
has
you?
Ryan Reynolds.
Does it?
Yes, Blade Trinity.
No, never seen it.
Probably the worst of all of them, but it does have Ryan Reynolds in it. Jessica Biel's in there. No, nothing. Patton Oswalt.
I like that guy.
He's in there.
No, I don't,
You should watch at least the first one.
There are a lot of movies I need to see.
Yeah.
Blade. And the one movie that everyone keeps telling me to see that I've still not seen and at some point need to see is Starship Troopers.
Oh my god.
I've never seen Starship Troopers.
So, it is the worst.
I'm a criminal.
It is so bad,
Yeah.
but you have to see. It's just one of those things you have to see.
It's apparently just such a good cult classic that it has to be watched.
Well, it's a cult classic because it's fucking so bad.
It's bad, but like, I mean, it's apparently very good because it's so bad. And I've never watched it, so.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. It's so ridiculous.
I gotta sit down and watch it. I want to watch Yellowstone. Have you watched Yellowstone?
No.
Everybody loves
It's on. It's not even on my list.
No, it's not even on your list.
We made the list because we get you sidetracked.
You should go back to 6 Feet Under.
Oh yeah.
That's a good show.
It was okay.
It's fun. It's a fun show.
I enjoyed it.
This is a very
That
good show
one
to watch.
episode we watched.
We watched 3.
That we did.
Uh-huh.
That's nuts.
Yeah. 3 episodes of that chick constantly coming back into that guy's life. Have you ever seen anybody try to insert themselves in anyone's life so much? It's crazy. Very good show. It's such a like a bygone era too, because people have like flip phones, which is, it feels weird, People are having sex in closets at airports, so
So weird.
I don't think that's obtainable at all anymore. So
Maybe.
no, there's no way. Nobody's having sex in an airport. Airports are lawless places, but I don't think anybody's in the maintenance closet having sex. I don't even know how you get horny in an airport. Airports stress me the fuck out.
I think guys are just horny all the time, no matter what.
Probably guess so. But like, dude, fucking airports are a nightmare.
Why?
Flying isn't. It's so fucking annoying. Why? Like, you don't know. Like, you don't have to go through the stupid fucking security nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have 18 million things to do. You got like 6 bags. There's a kid crying. Somebody's coughing diagonally from you. There's a guy, 3 people ahead, don't speak no fucking English, has no idea where he's going, has none of his credentials. You gotta take your shoes off, put them back on. It's a nightmare. And it's a charade.
I traveled with a 6-month-old. It is not that bad. And that's with connecting flights. Calm down.
Not a huge fan. Not a fan at all. I don't like flying, period. And the airport makes it worse.
Listen, it can give me all the delays in the world. Just make sure the plane takes off and lands. That's it. I don't care.
I have the most insane viewpoint on flying because, flying is relatively safe, right? Everybody can agree that. And it just, empirically, if you look how many, actual accidents have occurred, you see them a lot, you hear about them a lot, but they don't occur nearly as much as, a car accident. And I would much rather drive somewhere. Because I feel like...
Because you're in control.
Well, that, but I also feel like, and this is the crazy part, I feel like I have a fighting chance. You know what I mean? I feel like I have a fighting chance in a vehicle. Whereas if I'm in a plane and something goes wrong, pack it up, yo. That's it. You're done.
So that's funny because I feel I have a fighting chance in an airplane.
What are you going to do, Mark?
In my crazy brain...
You going to parachute out?
No, I just feel like I'll be conscious or I'll be jolted back into consciousness when we smack into the ocean. And then... You
hope you hit an ocean.
Then I'll remember where the exits are because I counted them when I got on.
But you're not going to be able to do it. Just the impact
even though
is
we're
going to kill you.
upside down and I'm concussed. I understand there's reality, and I also understand that I think I got a chance.
There's no way you have a chance.
Yeah.
The impact alone will fuck you
up.
You
don't know that.
It'll break apart
Maybe
and you'll
not
just... I feel like in a car, I could probably foresee something occurring. If you're a relatively good driver, you could see what's going on around you. You know what I mean? You got a fighting chance. In the air, you're done. Pack it up, dog. Shit, you going down, And I truly think that this happened because of 9/11. Because I was a little kid when 9/11 happened, and when you grow up in New York... especially at the time period I grew up in New York, when 9/11 happened, I was in the first grade.
Mm-hmm.
So every year after that year, the amount of things that we did in remembrance of 9/11, you relearned about 9/11 every year.
Mm-hmm.
From fucking first grade. It was a thing. Especially on Long Island. You're so close to the city. You're 30 minutes from New York City. So... everybody knows somebody who knows somebody. So if you basically spent your entire childhood and your adolescence relearning the events of 9/11, you're pretty fucking scared of planes.
You don't want anything to do with the airplane.
I just, because you consistently learn it over and over and over again, which, by the way, I thought was just a thing everybody did. No. That's just a New York thing. That's it.
I don't know about relearning it. We definitely brought it up.
No. We would have days... when 9/11 rolled around, the day of, that's all we did in school that day. Every fucking class was about 9/11. Math? No math today. We're talking about 9/11.
I was in class.
Huh?
I was in class.
When 9/11 happened? How old are you?
I was in middle school.
So you're you were about it.
Yeah. So it was funny, we were taking a test, and I was done with my test, so I was just kind of hanging out in the seat. And I remember hearing my teacher say, "Hey, you home? Are you home?" And I look up and he's on doing two things he's never done in front of, and he made it a point to never do it in front of students. He was on his cell phone and on his computer. And he's just "You home? You home?" I'm assuming he was talking to his wife.
Mm.
It's turn on the TV. Turn on TV right now.
And this is in New Jersey?
No, this is here.
Oh, this was down
This
here.
is here.
Okay.
So I'm what the fuck is going on? I'm something happened. I'm this is weird. Bell rings. A couple minutes later, go to my next class, and I get into class, and students are talking about it. Still, at this point, no staff has acknowledged what is going on.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, we did not do anything in that class, because I vividly remember us just talking about it the whole time, and for me, I didn't know what was going on, so that I was just listening to them, and it was planes hit the towers and stuff. I'm like, okay. And I think we made it to the next period, but like they're like, we're sending everybody home.
Yeah. When you left and you went home, what happened? Did you turn on the TV? Were your parents talking about it, or?
Well, so they called all the buses because everyone was leaving early, so I had to call the buses. I was taking a bus home, so I got on the bus and I was walking home, and I think I got a phone call at that point because I got a cell phone. No, I didn't have a cell phone. No, I didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have a cell phone.
Pre-smartphone time,
no. So, no, I walked home and from the bus stop, and I remember my dad called me. So he must call me when I got home. Because I remember talking to him. He was like, oh, are you okay? This and that. I'm like, yeah. I'm watching it on TV. This is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Sav was there.
No shit.
She was in New York.
Oh, yeah. Wow, we should talk about that.
She talked a little bit about it. It was not a good time for her, though.
I'm sure.
Her family did not look for her. She was a kid, like, wandering New York.
Outstanding.
On 9/11.
That's what's up.
So, it was not a good day for her.
I am sure not, no.
But yeah, we should ask her a little bit more about it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. It's such an interesting topic. I talked to so many people about their experiences with it, because I've really only had to, growing up in New York, like, again, every single year when I was growing up, we relearned about 9/11, and every year you learned more information, right? Because, like, there was more information that came out as the years go on, right? And you found out more things, and, we ended up going to war. So, like, growing up in that is I think, very much influenced my distaste for airplanes, warranted or not. But, yeah, like, my experience with 9/11 is so different than so many people down here. And I understand it, right? Like, you're pretty far removed from what happened. It's very far away. Whereas I was 30 minutes away from it. So, and again, everybody knows somebody who was there or died or responded. Like, everybody knows someone. There's nobody who was not affected in that area. Like, and again, even being in the first grade, I still have a wildly vivid memory of that when it occurred, which is interesting about, like, things you remember when you're really little. Like, I don't remember anything before this event happened. Like, I don't know what was going on that day, but I remember being picked up from school. I remember my mom being absolutely beside herself with fear and panic, and I'm just like, I don't know, like, you're fucking first grade. I don't know, how old are you in the first grade? Like 7, 6?
Something like 6 or 7, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I just know she's freaked out. I get home, I turn on the TV, and I remember it was like one of those TVs that I would press the button in, and then, like, it would be like, and, like, the picture would come on. And it was really small. It was a very tiny TV. Tiny little shitty TV. So small, like, I could pick it up and, like, move it. And every channel was this, the news, and all I kept seeing over and over again was this plane hitting this building, just over and over, just hitting the building. And my mom finally, like, caught on to the fact that this is what I was watching. She was like, oh my God, turn the channel off, turn it to something else. And I just kept watching. And then my dad just didn't come home for, like, 2 days.
So then you were too young to see the infamous episode of TRL where they just they had celebrities calling in and they were, like, talking to them about how they felt about the event. And it's like, who the fuck cares?
No. And I kind of missed the TRL era because I was so young.
Yeah. What, Dave Chappelle has a funny joke about it on his stand-up.
Oh, yeah?
Because he's like, they called Ja Rule. That's what he was like, what the fuck do I care what Ja Rule thinks about this? He's like, you think when I saw those towers get hit, that I was just like, oh my God, what's going on? I gotta make some sense of this. He's like, can someone please find Ja Rule?
Facts, right?
Somebody like, make sense of all this.
Please, right now what I need is to hear Ja Rule speak on this wild event that nobody could have ever fathomed it could have happened. We can't talk about it tonight. We can't talk about it because it would get into a very long conversation. But I was talking with a mutual friend of ours the other day about whether or not like it was, planned or whatever. And I will say this one thing about it, because again, if we talk about it, it will go into
go off the rails.
It will be a 3-hour conversation on it.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny that the same government that can't keep track of billions of dollars and that is wildly incompetent, that's that same government people think planned this massive attack on the United States. Those two thought processes cannot coexist. Okay, guys? Like, these people can't keep track of literal money that they're allocating, that's written on paper somewhere, but somehow coordinated this very intricate attack that involved like 4 planes. There's no way there was a reality in which our government could have coordinated that. These people are wildly incompetent. Like, more so back then than even now.
It's like if I'm like a really efficient bank robber, but also I can't get my taxes straight.
You can't count.
I was like, hold on.
Those cannot coexist.
You can plan all of this, but you can't tell me.
I can't read. Like, get the fuck out of here. There's no way. I don't know how to read, but I'm a incredibly successful bank robber. I'm very good with crypto. I don't know how to count. There's no way. Those things cannot coexist, guys. Like, we get into these rabbit holes where people are like, it was the government, they did it. And it's like, this is the same government that cannot keep track of its own money. The same government that George W. Bush, people. Everyone forgets George W. This guy was wild. He was wild. The things he said and did were straight from SNL, and yet this is the same government that somehow planned the worst terrorist attack in the United States. That's just not possible, guys. Come on. It's crazy. People are so crazy with that shit.
Some people need something to hold on to.
Dude, I get it. You hate the government. I really think it's just so inconceivable to a lot of people that something like that could have happened that they have to blame the government. Like, they have to. Like, it was orchestrated by them. Has to be. Because the idea that we were just such an incompetent government and that our agencies that are designed to, get information and, break down and understand that information were so incompetent and didn't talk to each other, that is so hard to digest. That is so much more painful and scary to think we have these agencies that exist to intercept this information, to get this information, put it together in a way to protect ourselves. That's literally their purpose, and they couldn't do it. That's way scarier than saying our government planned it. I think, anyway. Like, that sounds scarier, right? Like, we have these things set up to protect ourselves.
It's concerning how much incompetence had to be involved.
Less so, you would be surprised, because I did which is why I have so much information on this topic, is I took a class in college about 9/11 and terrorism. And
I did too.
Did you?
Not specifically 9/11, but it was a terrorism course.
It was like a course on which sounds bad, by the way. You can't say that. It sounds bad.
I didn't learn how to be a terrorist.
But just, that's why I never say it like that, because it sounds really bad. Like,
listen, I saw this. Cops just said terrorism.
Terrorism.
10/11.
It was like terrorism / like 9/11 history and shit like that. And it was a really, really good class. But what I learned basically was that there were numerous people who knew this was going to occur. They knew it. They had the information. They had the intel on the ground. But because there were people with egos that didn't want to talk, the FBI didn't want to talk to the CIA didn't want to talk to the FBI, they were keeping information from each other. These agencies that were supposed to be communicating with each other, they had massive egos, didn't want to talk to each other, and then within those agencies had so many, good old boy clubs that if you weren't in their club and they didn't like you, they didn't want to hear anything you had to say. So there were people who knew. They fucking knew. Was it orchestrated by the government? No. But there were people in the government who knew and just did nothing. And that is a lot more scary and hurts a lot more than saying the government knew and they planned it, in my opinion. Because then it's like you have something to blame, like that's like, oh, this is a force that attacked us, like the government attacked us, versus they just were incompetent.
Yeah.
They were just lazy. They were just had
one
egos.
One of the biggest missteps apparently was the flight instructor right here, who was just like, yeah, he said he didn't need to learn how to land, but whatever.
Which, like, right, that's a huge flag, that's an indicator. But I mean, even beyond that, like, there were people on the ground in Iraq and Afghanistan that were saying, hey, they're planning this attack.
Well, yeah.
They're planning it. This is where it's going to take place. It's going to be in New York. It's going to involve planes. We know this. And they were just like, that's so much more scary, in my opinion, than the government did it. So nobody wants to digest that.
I got one question and then we'll wrap it up. So do you think we're getting another one?
A big terrorist event? Yeah. I think it's inevitable. I think we've gotten so complacent as a society that it's bound to happen. But I don't think, and again, a lot of things point to it happening again. I don't think it will be this massive event like 9/11 was. I think, and this is evident from, in the past decade, like the Boston bomber, it will be these lone people that will come and create these big moments of terror and death. And that seems to be where a lot of the information from the CIA and FBI and these agencies are getting, is that they will be these lone people that will just infiltrate the United States, force some sort of event. Again, the Boston bombing is a really great example of that, right? These were two guys that were on their own. Nobody was paying attention to these guys who looked suspect, because they ended up finding those guys on camera, and how they were able to identify them was everybody else was watching the race except for those guys. So it's going to be something like that. There are going to be just these lone dudes who have a shit ton of explosives or weapons, and they're going to go ahead and just kill a bunch of people, kind of like the Boston bombers. It's going to be a Boston bomber thing. I don't think it's going to be like a 9/11 thing again. I don't think that those terrorist cells have that capacity anymore. I think they've been they're just so disorganized. I don't think they have enough funds. I think they've been, pacified in a way. I think they're broken up in so many little sectors that I don't think they are unified enough to, push a major attack like that. But the lone operatives is a very easy thing to do. All you got to do is, find somebody, militarize them, get them behind that cause, give them all of the money that they need to do those things, and then just set them out. That's it. That's super easy. Very, very little coordination or orchestration has to occur for that, I think. I don't know about you, but what do you think? Do you think it's going to be something like that, or?
I think it's going to be a massive.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't think they have the wherewithal for that anymore.
I think. So we already know that terrorists have already been caught coming across the southern border, not getting into.
Right.
Immigration. I'm just stating a fact. Terrorists have been caught coming through the southern border. I want to say they've been caught after the fact, and they've come to the northern border as well. But that's not necessarily going. I mean, it's a different trek, but you can do it in certain areas.
Oh yeah. I've seen Shameless.
So they're getting in here. So terrorists are getting into.
But I think these are the lone operatives. I don't think that they're all coming together and working together.
I think they realize that it can't come together quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if something happens and it's on a massive scale, and we find out, hey, some of these guys have been in the U.S. for 20 years.
Oh yeah, no, I think they're here, but I just don't think they're recording it.
They've been here for 20 years, and this has literally been a 2-decade plan. Because they're like, we are going to make this massive, and we are going to make sure it happens. That's
possible. That's possible. I mean, I don't know. I think at
this point it's a long game.
You think so?
I think so. Because you're not just hijacking planes.
Well, you're not. But again, the Boston bombings was two dudes on their own. They were brothers, so it made it easy because they were brothers. And then all they had to do was give them the money and the information. And that wasn't necessarily that was like several year plan. It wasn't like instantaneous, but I don't think they have the wherewithal to sustain something for that long. I just don't. They're not anymore anyway. I think they've just been decimated in so many ways. It's so much easier, I think, for them to like do something quick and short term because they know, hey, I radicalize this person, I give them the information, I get them all jazzed up for the cause, I'm gonna send them out and do their thing. Because if you have a lot of time, that's a lot of time for the zealousness to kind of dissipate.
No.
You don't want too much time to pass, right? People start having second thoughts.
No,
like, maybe I don't want to blow up.
No, I get that, but yeah, I think it's
I think they'd like
I
to.
think it's a very long game, and I don't think anything's gonna happen anytime soon. But I think something will eventually happen, and it's going to...
I'm more worried about China and Russia than I am, some terror, which I think will happen, but I think like those things are way more scary to me. Or the fucking whatever Russia's kind of tied up doing their own thing, but I still think there's a lot going on in China that will not be a boots on the ground situation. And a lot of people who are, I've been watching a lot of like the Sean Ryan show and like people that are ex FBI or CIA saying that like there is going to be this big war, but it's not going to be a people war. It's going to be an information war. It's going to be a cyber war. And that's got me way more concerned than like some dude just blowing shit up, which I think, and again, I come from New York, so like that to me is it's just a reality. Like it doesn't faze me. Like I think that it'll happen and it will happen, and you just got to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the reality we live in. Post 9/11, if you're not looking around, if you're not paying attention, if you don't think it will happen in your neighborhood, you're being stupid. You got to be looking all the time. And I'm not saying it's a great life to live. Like being hyper aware all the time is exhausting. I think it totally feeds into like my anxiety, but I don't know any other way to live.
It's a smart way to live.
Yeah, but it's also really shitty. Like I don't recommend it.
I've said it to people before. I'm like, I wish I could just like
exist.
Drive my car and exist and sit in a restaurant and
go to Publix, just not even be looking around. And I'm looking for somebody who's doing something wrong. I'm looking for somebody who's out to hurt somebody, and that's just a shitty ass way to live. But I don't know how. I legitimately don't know any other way. I can't exist any other way. But we're weird for that, apparently. Just so you know, that's not how other people live.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Like other people don't go out and like go to an event and they're not constantly looking at all the faces and all of the hands and what people are doing. Mm-hmm. We're fucking weirdos for that. Which is funny because like I never would have thought that we are a minority of people, but we are.
Yeah. Like so many of us clocking the exits on the airplane, you know what I'm saying?
You're fucked on an airplane, Mark. I don't know what you think you're gonna do, but there's little things called physics. Okay? You got a better chance on the ground, my guy. The air, pack it up. Game over.
We'll see. Alright, so let's wrap this up. What time is it?
Damn it, it's fucking 11 o'clock.
Oh yeah. I still gotta pack. I'm leaving for Orlando tomorrow.
Are you really?
Yeah.
There's no way. Tomorrow's gonna be such balls. This whole weekend's gonna be balls.
I'm still
You're
working.
not there.
I'm still working.
Oh, you're working Sunday?
After work.
Oh, you're working tomorrow?
I won't be here. Yeah, I'll work tomorrow, but I won't be there Sunday.
Dude, Sunday.
Good fucking luck.
Sunday's gonna suck. You're not gonna be there. This isn't gonna be a podcast. You're not gonna be there. Mason won't be there. Donovan's on vacation. He doesn't work Sunday, but I'm so fucking tired of being short-staffed.